Summary of Private Peaceful by Michael Morpurgo. Private Peaceful is about Tommo Peaceful's childhood and is told from his point of view. The story jumps back and forth between the present and Tommo's memories of the past. The story starts when Tommo is a child. He is scared about his first day of school, but his brother Charlie tries to calm him down and rides with him. Tomas doesn't want to go to school, but when he does, he meets a girl named Molly who smiles at him and helps him tie his shoelaces. Molly will become Tommo's friend right from the start. It's like a day in the woods with his dad comes back to Tommo. Tommo's dad cut down trees for a living, and Tommo had joined him for the day. Toddler Tommo went to play in the woods and got lost in his own stories. He heard a noise and turned around to see a tree falling. He was so scared that he couldn't move. If he didn't, it would fall on top of him. His dad was yelling and running at him before he knew it. Tommo made it out alive, but the tree killed his father. Tommo and his family go to the village church for his father's funeral. Everyone sees a swallow flying around the church. Tommo believes that the swallow is his father's spirit trying to get away. Tommo's mother tells Big Joe, who is Nick and Charlie's brother, that their dad is in heaven and happy as the birds. Tommo, on the other hand, is filled with terrible shame because he knows he killed his father. Big Joe has had brain damage since birth, so he is a little different from his brothers. But they love him anyway. He is only known to them as Big Joe, and he is always happy, smiling, and nice. Soon, Molly tells Tommo that she likes Big Joe because she thinks he is nice. This makes Tommo decide that he will always love her. Molly quickly feels like she is part of the Peaceful family. She picks up the boys from school every day and brings them home. The three of them are almost never apart. While this lasts, Tommo's life is mostly pretty good. Only thing is, he doesn't feel like he has as many friends as Molly and Charlie do because they are older than him. They both quit school and go to work at the Colonel's, a bad guy, village farm, but Tommo is left behind in class. He feels a strong sense of loss and sadness when he sees Molly and Charlie holding hands one day. He knows they are falling in love with each other and leaving him behind. Charlie now works at the estate's hunt stables as a worker. He tells Tommo one day that he's in a lot of trouble. Because the dog was about to be shot, he saved it from the cages, but he knows the Colonel will say he stole it. As it turns out, the Colonel fires Charlie the next morning and then kills Bertha the dog anyway, just because he wants to. The Colonel tells Molly's mother and father that Charlie is a bad influence after the dog story, so they don't let Molly hang out with Charlie. Even so, Charlie and Molly keep meeting up behind each other's backs. After a few weeks, Molly gets pregnant by accident and her folks kick her out. The Peaceful family is happy to have her, and Charlie says he will take care of her and their kid. But only the Peacefuls show up to their wedding, so they get married soon after. Soon after that, the Colonel decides that Charlie needs to join the army. He tells the Peacefuls that if Charlie doesn't, he will kick them out of his house, which he owns. Charlie bravely takes his fate, and Tommo decides to go with him since he is 15 years old and too young to fight anyway. The boys meet a mean man named Sergeant Hanley when they get to their training camp in France. Hanley is in charge of their business and is very proud. He doesn't like Charlie at all because he doesn't obey him like the other men do. Hanley starts to pick on Tommo just because he is Charlie's brother. One day, Hanley's punishments were Tommo out to the point where he passes out. Charlie is so mad at Hanley that he screams at him in front of everyone. Hanley gives Charlie a punishment, but Charlie, who is brave, takes it with the respect that he always shows. They will soon be sent to the front line, but at first it is very quiet there. Captain Wilkes makes sure they have good morale by telling them to sing all the time. For some reason, Charlie and Tommo make everyone sing Oranges and Lemons. Big Joe used to sing it at home all the time. There isn't much fighting at first, even though the ditches are cold and full of rats and lice. The soldiers really enjoy going to a nearby pub, and Tommo really likes one of the waiters there. The company takes a German prisoner during an attack one day. The British troops catch on that the German is really just like them. He prays to the same God and doesn't wear a uniform, so he looks just like them. Before he is taken away, they even share a cup of tea. On the same mission that takes the German prisoner, Captain Wilkes gets hurt. Wilkes later gives Charlie his valuable golden watch as a reward for his bravery and loyalty. Charlie gladly carries Wilkes to safety. The business is sent back to the front lines. Lieutenant Buckland, who is new to them, is from England and is their new leader. To them, this makes him seem young and naive, since he hasn't been through as much of the war as they have. The British men go into fight one day, and Tommo gets seriously hurt. The chaos makes him lose sight of Charlie, and he can't move his legs. Lieutenant Buckland shows his doubters they are wrong by bravely helping Tommo. He stands by Tommo's side and tries to carry him back to safety, but he is sadly killed. When Tommo finally gets back to the ditches, Charlie is nowhere to be found, so he thinks the boy is dead. Charlie comes back in the middle of the night. He got hurt and couldn't come back before now. The boys are so happy that they can cry and hug each other. Tommo finds out that Charlie is being sent back to England to get better when he goes to see him in the hospital. This makes Tommo very angry. While he is getting better in England, Charlie is able to go home and meet his baby boy for the first time. The child is named Thomas, which means Little Tommo after Tommo. Tommo chooses to be brave and ask the girl in the pub her name. When he gets there, she tells him it's Anna, and they start to talk a little. When Tommo gets to the pub one day, he can't find Anna anywhere. When he goes to her house to find her, Anna's father tells him that she was killed by a stray explosion. Tommo goes to see her grave and then comes back to camp sad. He really wants to think that Anna is in heaven, but the war has made him lose faith. Sergeant Horrible Hanley takes over as the next leader of Tommo's company. He makes the lives of all the troops miserable by punishing them for the smallest mistakes all the time. And tells Charlie that he will be keeping a close eye on him. He gets even worse when Charlie comes back. A few weeks later, Tommo is seriously hurt again in a big fight. It hurts like hell in his head, he passes out, and he thinks he is going to die. Tommo amazingly lives after Charlie pulls him up. Everybody in the company is hiding in a tunnel because German guns are all around them. Everyone agrees that they should stay put because leaving the dugout would almost certainly end in death. Sergeant Hanley, on the other hand, doesn't agree and tells the men to attack. Charlie tells him that this is a useless and suicidal order and that he will not leave Tommo. Hanley tells Charlie that he will be killed if he doesn't do what he says, but Charlie won't come down. Joe and Charlie stay in the dugout while the guys go out to fight. Charlie asks Tommo to promise that he will take care of Molly and little Tommo if something happens to him while they wait. Tommo agrees. A very small group of guys come back from the attack, and Hanley is still with them. Forcibly taken into custody as soon as they reach the British lines once more. After 6 weeks, Charlie lets Tommo go see him. Charlie will be put to death for cowardice. This has already been decided. He is going to be put to death tomorrow, and Tommo can only see him for 20 minutes today. In his story, Charlie tells Tommo about his unfair sentencing. Nobody could testify against him because Tommo, who was his brother and could be biased, was the only person who could. Sergeant Hanley was the only other person there. The judges paid attention to everything Hanley said and then turned their backs on Charlie. There was bias from the beginning of the trial, and the decision was made in less than an hour. After that, the boys spend the rest of their time together talking about their house. Once Tommo is done with his visit, they all sing Oranges and Lemons together. Then Tommo is called away. Tommo spends the night in a barn and waits for Charlie to be killed in the morning. People in the army try to help him, but he turns them all away and chooses to spend the night by himself, thinking about the past and Charlie. The person reading just finished this story. When it's time for Charlie to be put to death, Tommo goes outside and sings Oranges and Lemons. He knows that Charlie will be singing it too, and it makes Tommo feel close to Charlie as he dies. Charlie will surely die with honor, Tommo is sure, with his head held high and a smile on his face. When he gets back to camp, all of his fellow troops are standing at attention outside their tents to remember Charlie. Tomas's unit leaves for the Somme the next day. Tommo can only think about one thing right now: he must survive. He promises to keep.
About the author. Michael Bridge was born in St. Albans in 1943. Michael didn't find out that his dad was film star Tony Van Bridge until he was 19. His mother, Kip Kammertz, was also an actress, and the last name Morpurgo comes from her second husband, literature professor Jack Morpurgo. Michael went to school in London and then studied English and French at the University of London. So he went on to become a first-grade teacher. It was while he was working as a teacher that he realized he wanted to be an author. I could see there was magic in it for them, and I realized there was magic in it for me, he says. He went on to write many popular and well-liked books for kids, including War Horse, The Butterfly Lion, and Private Peaceful. The book War Horse has been a huge hit. It was turned into an award-winning show and then into a Steven Spielberg movie that was a huge hit in 2011. Morpurgo was Children's Laureate from 2003 to 2005. He and his wife, Claire, also started a charity called Farms for City Children to give kids from the city a chance to experience life in the country. Morpurgo is also the president of Book Trust, which is the UK's biggest charity for kids who love to read. The University of Plymouth gave Morpurgo an honours doctorate on November 9, 2023.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.